how our family navigates food allergies, dietary restrictions, and needing other supports around food because of disability. Okay, before we get into it, I know there's a lot on the internet and everybody's situation is different, but our family has a very wide and deep variety of dietary needs. And so I think this video is going to help you no matter if your situation is an intolerance, a sensitivity, something where you might need food processed differently. We're going to get into all of it. And we're not talking like the generic top 8 food allergy kind of things. We're getting into the weeds. So before we go deep into like how we navigate, and I'm going to put at the bottom, there's going to be a timeline. So if you don't want to hear the backstory or want to know the specifics of our family's unique challenges around food, go ahead and skip to that time so you can get straight to the how to navigate Disney Cruise Line with food intolerances, food allergies, and other dietary restrictions. Okay, so skip ahead if you don't care. For the rest of you, hi, I'm Sara. I'm a mom of 4. We have sailed on Disney over 100 days at sea, and I'm your unofficial Disney Cruise Line mom. So how this all started is because of my own severe food allergies, which I did not have until my 20s. And I was abroad in Spain, and it became very clear that I was very allergic, more allergic than I thought, to cilantro and parsley. And that even developed further into cumin. And so I have some really strange spice allergies, and I have an EpiPen. I don't know if you can see, that is an AviQ EpiPen. I mean, this is the AviQ. I like it better than the EpiPen because it's smaller and it's more compact and it fits in a lot smaller spaces. But yes, I have an EpiPen. So it's real for me, if that makes sense. So this is not like, if I have this, I'm going to know and it's going to be bad. This is not a like, hey, I may or may not know if I've had exposure. So that's just your first thing to know. It's like, this is real. This is not a, I might be allergic to something. Now, we also, again, I mentioned we have 4 kids. One of our children, who she's now kind of outgrown it, had a cow's milk protein allergy when she was very young. And so when her first sailing, she could not have dairy. And so we have dealt with no dairy. And we also have a child who has Down syndrome, and he has FPIES to peanuts. So FPIES is an allergy, I guess we could call it, I think the technical term is it's an allergy, but what happens is if he has something with peanuts in it, he gets very, very sick. And it's delayed, so it takes about 3 hours for him. It can be different for everybody, but it takes about 3 hours, and then he starts projectile vomiting, and some other stuff happens, and he basically like can get really dehydrated and his body can go into shock. It's actually scarier than an anaphylactic allergy because with anaphylaxis, you can get an EpiPen and shock the person right back into it. With him, if, there's no treatment. It's just IV fluids and Zofran and just waiting it out and hoping for the best. He's been hospitalized like, I want to say 5 times for it. Before we really knew what was happening, because it even happened when I was breastfeeding him, which is great. Feel real good about that, being a mom. And we did a food challenge with him. Like, we know. So with that said, he also has some extra needs around food, and which he's not able to chew some types of foods. He just struggles with that, and so he prefers some foods pureed. Specifically, we do that with fruit. We do a lot of rice dishes, and so we also need those kinds of supports when we travel as well. You combine all of that together, and maybe it might make sense to you as to why we have so much familiarity with how this works on Disney. And I will say, overall, Disney does a fantastic job with everything until we get to my specific food allergies, which are pretty severe. We have never had an issue with peanuts. We have never had an issue with the milk. And we've never had an issue with getting a variety of foods for our son, with the exception of like getting certain things pureed in certain places. So let's dive into it. Before we get into the how-tos, I'm going to share with you some of our experiences. With our child with the cow's milk protein allergy, on the ship, they have dairy-free items and a variety of types of dairy-free items all over the ship, including the nursery. So in the nursery, you can get soy milk, rice milk, almond milk. I mean, it's unbelievable. They have so much variety. Same in Cabanas. You can get all those things in Cabanas. And then they also have dairy-free options. sorbets, ice creams. The dairy is not an issue. Like if you're on a ship and you have a dairy intolerance or you're dairy-free, dairy allergy, you're going to be just fine. It's everywhere. They have dairy-free everything. In some spaces, like a Castaway, the ice cream is typically like a sorbet. It's not actual ice cream. So that's just something to note. And they definitely don't have soft serve that is dairy-free. But if you go like to Cabanas during lunchtime, typically there's a dairy-free option. Now with sit-down dining, you're going to be just fine too. They have menus, like they'll put on the menus like what can be dairy-free. They've got allergy menus there. And most things at dinner are dairy-free. So that has been so easy to navigate, like unbelievably easy to navigate in a surprising way. Like we were able to try so many things that we had never tried before with her without having to pay extra. So things that we hadn't tried at home, we were like, hey, why not try, the rice, whatever, or anyway. So that's the dairy. Now, moving on to peanuts. Peanuts really aren't on the ship very much. There's maybe like 2 or 3 desserts total with peanuts or peanut butter in them. And outside of that, there's really not much. It's very rare to find peanuts on the ship. So having a nut allergy is also something that is not that difficult to navigate on the ship. Disney does a really good job of like making sure that the top 8 allergens are easy to like notate, and it's easy for the staff to accommodate. Now, moving on to the dietary restrictions with our son, with needing purees and needing specific foods that he'll eat. Like he's very specific about the type of pasta that he wants. He's specific about like almost everything. And that just comes with the territory of Down syndrome. And it's very fun because, not everyone else is going to say how they feel, but he has no problem with it. So no, he's not going to eat the penne pasta. He wants spaghetti noodles. So, but Disney has been fantastic with that. The issue where we run into the most is when we want to get fruit from the top deck. There's a lot of places on most of the ships where you can get fresh fruit at the top deck where, you've got like the grill stuff on the pool deck. And so a lot of times we'll get fresh fruit and we would like it pureed for him because he's not capable of chewing up that fruit safely. He will choke, and that is a problem. And the issue is getting that fruit pureed is really difficult because where they have the fruit is not where they have the blenders. And where they have the blenders is not where they have the fruit. And so there's this back and forth, and depending on which ship and which staff and who's working and who's going to accommodate and who's in charge, you may or may not be able to get that fruit pureed at the bar or somewhere else. They may say, like, go down to main dining to get fruit pureed. And that's fine. It's just hard, like, when the whole family is eating on the deck, not to be able to get that accommodated. And we know that the bar purees stuff because they, like, make all these specialty drinks. And we're not looking for a specialty drink. We're just looking for you to take, the cantaloupe, the pineapple, whatever it is, and just puree it. It's an accommodation. It's not that hard. But apparently it is hard. So that's been the one issue we've had in that regard on the ships. I still don't have a solution. It's just hit or miss every time. And so we just do our best. And then at dinner time, we're still working out the kinks with that because a lot of times they'll puree something and they put it in a bowl. And it's just easiest for everyone if he uses a straw and drinks it. And just like another tip on that, if you need food pureed and you like a straw, or just in general, if you use a straw, Disney's straws on all the ships are biodegradable. They're either using the paper straws or they're using candy straws, which is super fun. However, with toddlers and with individuals with disabilities that may need more support, we just bring our own straws. We bring the plastic throwaway straws, and come at me in the comments like if that's your biggest concern about the world. Like, we got other issues. It's an accommodation for our child, and that's how we support him in that space. Straws aside, purees aside, like that's the only issue we've had is we haven't been able to figure out like how someone can like puree fruit and make it cold so that it's not gross or end up like just slimy in a bowl. Yeah, that's the only issue we've had there. Now, moving on to my own personal allergies, parsley, cilantro, and cumin. Those might be like the most frustrating allergies to have unless you have an allergy to pepper or another spice, because the word spice is in everything. And the cross-contamination issue is so much more challenging because it's spices. It's not like bananas, like, or peanut butter, where it's very clear that, like, those aren't going to be in everything all the time. Where spices are in everything all the time. And so even if it's like set aside as an allergy request, that might be made next to someone else who also has an allergy request that's a different allergy request that can have spices. And so we have had the most variety experience on Disney ships with my allergy, and we typically have an issue once a sailing. Once a sailing, we have an issue with my allergy. And you may be thinking, oh no, I don't believe that. Disney does amazing with allergies. I've heard that from everybody. And they may have that experience, and that is amazing for them. But this is life and death for me. So yeah, a lot of times people will say, like, Disney does such a great job, and like if they ever have issues, like it's not a big deal, whatever. I have met the chef on many of the ships, if that tells you anything. So let me tell you how this works out for me and how to like make sure it doesn't happen to you. Because my allergy is to parsley and cilantro is like the biggest one. Those are the main allergies like that are the most severe. Those items, parsley and cilantro, are very recognizable. They are very specific in what they look like. They are bright green, and they are typically not added till the end of anything. And so typically, like, I'm going to inspect my food every time I come, like every time it comes. And we're going to have conversations, and we have lots of conversations because, like, I'm not, like, this this is not something I want to deal with anywhere. And the problem is, like, at home, we have these same issues. Like, we don't go out to eat very often because it's risky. It really is risky. And, like, one speck of something should not tip me over the edge. But because a lot of times things are hidden in food, you don't know. And so you can't take the chance, and you don't know what your body's going to do. Because with food allergies, it could be something where if your body's been exposed to other things, it may have a lower threshold when you eat whatever it is you're eating. So that said, we've had experiences where they have taken it so seriously that they do not season the food at all, which sucks. Like, if you've ever had food that is totally unseasoned, like imagine like ribs or chicken, whatever it is, totally unseasoned, just plain, like they did nothing. Like, are we serious? Like, this is like a nice cruise, and you can't even like put salt and pepper? Really? I mean, like, I'm only allergic to those few things. Like, you can put anything else on it. I'm gonna be fine. So we've had that happen. We've had experiences where they just say, no, we can't do that. We can't make that. We can't serve you that. We can't accommodate. And you're left wondering, like, why? Why? Because the last cruise I went on, we had the same thing and I could have it. And now you're telling me I can't have it. What's in the ingredients here? And it turns out a lot of times maybe there's some misinformation or laziness, or just maybe there's too many people on the ship with allergies that they're just not willing to accommodate you. We've also had experiences where the server did not put it in as an allergy, like maybe they were new, and so then, it just comes right back out and you can see it all over the plate and you're like, oh my goodness, is this really happening? I mean, it's just been the full spectrum. On our last cruise, on our transatlantic cruise, we didn't have any issues. And the reason for that, I believe, is because of how serious we came in and expressed what was going on and expressed the history and all of the steps that we had done before boarding the ship to make sure that this wasn't going to be an issue. And even once we got on the ship. And we made sure everybody knew about it. So let's talk in detail how to navigate food allergies on a Disney Cruise Line. What you need to do. Step number 1, before you get on the ship, when you are booking your vacation or after you've booked, you can go in and online, if you have a top 8 food allergy or a dietary restriction like vegetarian, or if you are halal or kosher, anything like that, you can do that on the website. Now, if you have an allergy like mine, that is rare, that is not a top 8, that is a spice or something like that, you cannot do this on the website. You are going to have to call in and let them know you need, it marked on your reservation that you have a food allergy. Next, number 2, you can contact special services, and I'll put up like a picture here, and you can let them know of your food allergy and if there are things you would like provision to the ship. I have done this before and I don't think it worked. So I can't tell you for certain that this is going to work, but it is an option for you to do. Next, number 3, when you get on the ship, you are going to go straight to the dining location where they are doing like changes in dining, whatever. You're going to go there and you are going to check in and you're going to say, "Hi, my name is," for me, that's Sara. "I want to make sure that you have it on my reservation that I have a significant food allergy." Okay, we're good? You're good? I'm good? Do we need to change the dining team to accommodate that? Or do you feel confident that this is going to be okay? Depending on what they say, you move on. Now, number 4, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to go to sit down dining during lunch on Embarkation Day. That's right, you're going to sit down dining for lunch on Embarkation Day. And you are going to tell them that you have an allergy. And then you're going to ask to place your order for that night's dinner. And here's why. With all the allergy stuff, especially if you have like a significant food allergy, you're going to typically place all of your orders like the night before. Just so that they have extra time to figure it out, to like make sure that they can accommodate you, to make sure that they can make whatever it is that you want to eat. They just need that extra time to make it from scratch, whatever it is that they need to do. So when you're there at lunch and you ask for the dinner menu, you ask to place an order for dinner, that makes it so that when you get to dinner, you are one step ahead and you don't have to wait an extra who knows how long to get your food because you have an allergy. The next thing you're going to do, number 5, you are going to make sure when they are taking your order that they are using the allergy sheet. And in my experience, this has been a pink ticket. I can't promise what color it'll be because things may change over time and things may change depending on what ship you're on. But you need to make sure that when someone is taking your order, that they know you have an allergy in that moment, like if you haven't pre-ordered, and that they are putting that on the allergy ticket. Because you cannot, if they don't put it on the allergy ticket, it's going to the regular space where there's a ton of cross-contamination and your food may come out with your allergy cross-contaminated or on it. That's number 5. And number 6, everywhere you go on the ship, you need to make sure that you let them know about your allergy. And I say this because a lot of people just assume that, when they go to the pool deck, like if they're getting a burger and fries, like it doesn't have their allergies, so like whatever. But here's the thing you may not know. Up on the pool deck, those items come in from outside the ship. They are not made from scratch. So don't let anybody tell you anything differently. They are not made from scratch. I have seen the books with all the ingredients on them. And it varies ship to ship. So the pizza sauce, it's coming from somewhere else. And you know what? You need to look at that ingredient list. Oh, and those french fries, it's not just potatoes in those french fries. Shocking. Those chicken tenders, there's a lot of stuff in those chicken tenders. And if you have like an actual severe food allergy, you need to be looking at that. If you have a gluten allergy, you need to be looking at all of this. Now, if this doesn't affect you, then maybe your allergy isn't as significant as you once thought. So, not trying to say anything. I'm just saying that as someone who reads every single ingredient pretty much on the ship, like I know it's in all these foods. And so we've had the experience where for years I've been able to eat pizza on some of the ships. And I've looked at their ingredients list, but recently they have changed their vendor or they've changed their supplier, and the sauce now has something spice in it. And it may have had spice before, but maybe it was something that I had used at home or something like that. And so, but now I don't know what those spices are. Something has changed, the ingredients have changed, and now I don't know. And when we get on the next ship, that supplier may be different because in different parts of the country or at different times, different ships have different things on them. And so even if they all have pizza, that pizza may not be made exactly the same way. So it's important that each time you get on a ship that you double, triple check, because you don't know what's going to change and how it's going to change. Now, in regards to Cabanas, you're going to have to talk to someone when you walk in. And usually, well, in more recent times, they now have like an allergy desk where someone is at a desk in Cabanas and they are kind of like the head person in charge of allergies there. And so you can go, you find them, and you say, "Hi, my name is so-and-so. I have a pre-order." Or if you don't have a pre-order, you can say, "Hey, I would like to have some lunch." And they will take your order and you will tell them like what you're looking for and what your allergies are, and they will go make it. I mean, they won't go make it, but they will have someone make it. Now, something to know about this is it's not an easy, fast process. So you're going to be waiting. And that's the thing to know in regards to allergies across the board on Disney Cruise Line, is this is not something where you're just going to be able to like go pick up whatever it is you want to eat like anytime. It's going to take a while. And that's like a really hard part. But for someone like me who really struggles, like when we go out to eat anywhere, cruising is actually the easiest way for our family to travel, because instead of every single meal having to like risk my life or like trust someone with my life, we've got a team. And that team stays with you over the whole course of your cruise. You get to know them, they get to know you. And it's easier to deal with that one team than it is, if this is 7 days, 7 days with one team versus potentially 21 different teams. And when we're traveling internationally, which we do, and we love traveling internationally, this gets even more complicated when there's language barriers. And so having a team that speaks English, well, for us, speaks English, it's much easier to do that one time than like 21 times with a language barrier. And knowing that our room is pretty close by, we typically bring the EpiPens with us anyway, but there's also medical like right downstairs. And so like having all those extra steps in place versus, every time you go out, making sure you've got your EpiPens, making sure that you know where the closest hospital is, making sure you have like a medical plan. We've just found it to be a lot easier cruising. And I know that may feel shocking if like we have had issues like once, like every single cruise. But when I've had these issues, it's always been like I've been able to see it before I eat it. And yeah, this is my life. And so like, it's not like we've had issues, like we have issues locally pretty regularly. And so we just don't really go out to eat as often as we would probably like to, but it also helps us save money to cruise more. So I guess silver lining. But I think like if you know what that's like, if you have a spice allergy, the exposure is much more likely than a top 8 allergy, because it's just so easy for cross-contamination. I feel like for me specifically, seafood is a really hard thing. I love shrimp. I love lobster. Love all those things. But that is where I'm going to see parsley, probably, and pasta. Like if there's any pasta, there's probably parsley near that pasta. And yeah, do I think Disney does a good job? For the most part, yes. Do I think they could do better? Yes. Have I seen improvements over the last few months? Yes. My biggest recommendation, if it's an adult in your party with a food allergy, is to go to Palo. Go to Palo as many times as you can, because they are excellent, top-notch. They will make everything for you. And yeah, like it is not the easiest thing to do. And like, I'm not trying to rag on Disney, but we have had experiences. Like we've had multiple experiences with food allergies. And especially in the spice realm, like there's so many extra steps you have to take. Like if you are, if you do have a spice allergy, you're going to have to tell them you shouldn't have to, but you may have to tell them like that you still want your food seasoned. It sounds pretty wild, but I think, not everyone, especially as they bring in new ships, the training's still happening, but I think, maybe there's some misses because we've had multiple instances where food hasn't been seasoned. And so that's something we also do. It's like we ask them to season my food. It just is what it is. So in conclusion, sailing with Disney when you have a food allergy is possible, and it is typically a great experience. But if your food allergy is something more rare and is something like a spice, you're going to have to do more due diligence, and you are going to have to ask more questions, and you are going to have to do a little bit more to make sure that you stay safe, and that your food is seasoned. And I say this after taking 17 plus cruises, being on board a ship for over 100 days. We have had some incredible experiences, but I just want to be really transparent that it hasn't always been rainbows and butterflies. And, it took our transatlantic sailing, which was 14 nights, to have a flawless cruise. I hope this helps. If you find this helpful, please subscribe, like, and follow for more Disney Cruise Line tips and tricks. Okay, we'll see you in the next video. Bye, y'all.